Mr. KARL MANKE. God bless you, sir. I appreciate you. And even though I'm in Texas, we are backing you all the way from down here in Texas. God bless you.
God bless you, and thank you so much, Dana.
Of course. Tell me about this because it seems the state is trying to go toe to toe with you, but yet they realize, I think, how horrible it looks for them to arrest an individual who, and I've read every interview that you've given. I've seen all of the discussions. You run a very hygienic barber shop. I would dare to say that you probably have a cleaner shop than the Capitol there in Michigan. So I'm not, for them to be concerned about this and act as though somehow you are creating hotspot conditions. What do you say to that?
Well, we have, I've started cutting hair back in 1961. We've always had those type of guidelines in our work. Washing hands after each customer, keeping our equipment in a sanitizer. These are all things that have always been there. So there's a few new things that we're doing, like distancing and that kind of thing. But the thing that troubles me about this was that March 21st. Was when the governor told us, well, it would be a couple of weeks, just stay with me. It would be a couple of weeks and we'll be back to work again. Well, I've never been out of work my life. I've been in this business since 1961. And, it's really, it's my livelihood. This is what I do for a living. This is kind of who I identify myself with. I'm also an author, but that's another thing. But anyway, at this point right now, this is the way I make my living. Mm. And she said, okay, 2 weeks. And then it became another 2 weeks. And then she got in this little pissing match with the Trump administration. And, I just needed to work, and when that happened, she increased it again. It was sort of out of spite, that she is going to out-Trump Trump, and she's going to show her base that she is a rock star in the Democrat Party. And that she's going to take this Barber down. Yeah. And that's what she's basically done. I've become a worm in her head. Yeah. I remember the Trump, he called her, sort of off the cuff, that woman from Michigan. Well, now she refers to me as that Barber.
Oh, boy. Now look how the tables have turned. Look at this. So Gretchen Whitmer, the order that she has given, and we had some more of the commentary she's been giving, saying, well, if people are out there protesting, that just may push back the reopening date even longer, as though she's trying to extort citizens out of their First Amendment rights. Now, they suspended your licenses, as I understand it, to cut hair and also your shop license, but they're not actually enforcing it. Do you expect them to? Do you think that for instance, the AG telling this reporter that they don't actually plan to show up and arrest you, do you believe her?
No, I don't believe her at all. I mean, chances are, our legislator gave her, first of all, I want to just make a comment. Mm-hmm, sure. She's not my mother. And you're right. I have been cutting hair longer than she's been on the face of the earth. So I'm not going to abide by an illegal action that she took. Our legislator told her that they voted against her, told her that her extensions were up, that she was no longer, this was not her assignment at this time. She was overextending her assignment as governor here and the authority that we've given her. And she said, I'm going to do it anyway. Mm. I'm going to.
Oh, I think we got a freeze there on the Skype with Mr. Manke. Let's see if we can correct that. Yeah, go ahead and let's see if we can correct that. And of course, he's talking about the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, and the order that she had given. So, and we got him back. There we go. We got you back, Karl.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel she's breaking the law.
Mm. A lot of people do.
And this is today. I have, my attorney is working with what they did is they suspended my license without a hearing. They just, that's a police state action.
Right.
Anytime you can suspend somebody, just take their livelihood away. I wrote a story called Age of Shame. It takes place during the Holocaust. And I have we have a German connection on one side of our family and a Jewish connection on the other. And I wanted to write a story that kind of connected those two. And in the Warsaw Ghetto, during that 1940s period, early 1940s, the Jewish people were taken there. And they were promised that if they behaved themselves, that they would be sent to these wonderful places where they would have work. And the younger people saw through that. And the younger people defied those laws, and the older people actually turned those younger people in.
Oh, wow.
And they willingly got in those cattle cars with all of their treasures and with the promise of security. I refused to get into a cattle car. This is a police state now that we have, and I'm not going to. That promise that, Ben Franklin gave us, if you trade your freedoms for
Right.
security, you'll
deserve
soon have neither.
Right. Well, and this, a lot of people across Michigan have been protesting these orders, and we're now at the point where we're discussing, this isn't about health anymore. This isn't about health, because some of the orders that the governor gave, they didn't make sense. I mean, we've talked about a lot of them on the show. Like, if you're taking a boat out, you can't have a motor in your boat if you're going out on the water. But you can maybe go to Walmart, but you can't go and get your hair cut while everybody's wearing a mask and you're not really touching anything. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make sense. She could have, easily worked with us. She could have said, well, okay, this is the kind of the guidelines that we'd like the barbers to do.
And they didn't reach out to you at all. Just they didn't reach out to any that you know of, because any professionals, anyone in hair.
We would be the last. We would be the last to go back to work. There was no working with us. There was no, really, we followed those guidelines. I don't know. Somebody asked me, well, how would you feel if somebody got coronavirus from your barbershop? I said, well, I feel horrible. I don't want anybody getting coronavirus, any more than the people in Walmart or the people in the Kroger stores or the people in the grocery stores, or the gas stations. It's a fear-based indictment now that we're facing. These are all fear-based. It's not reasonable. It's the more they can scare the population, keep us inside. I see people driving around in their cars with a mask on with the windows pulled up.
I haven't quite gotten that one. I don't know why they wear the masks in the car. Let me ask you this. You need to reopen because you want to generate income, which is insane to me that the Attorney General of Michigan would say that was unpatriotic, but whatever. You want to generate income because you have bills to pay. You need to live. Then that requires money to do so. So that is a need that you have. I would imagine that the governor probably does grocery pickup. I would imagine that she still has packages delivered. That is a convenience for her. Do you feel as though these individuals that are making these orders, putting together these executive orders, do you feel that they are looking down on business people who operate small businesses who need to continue as a need and not a convenience?
I believe she feels that, I'm a common, ordinary guy. I'm just a small town barber. And I believe she thought she could crush me pretty easily. I'm 77. And the reality is I probably got a heck of a lot more history than I got future. So my wife and I, we've saved, what little we can. It's not by today's standards. It'll get us through until, our demise. But at this time, I have things, I don't want to get into my savings, to pay my bills. In the event of my demise, my wife would be left, with something. So the government is not the solution to this. I don't. Ronald Reagan, he says those 9 feared words.
We're the government.
I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. I don't want the government's handouts. I want to be able to work. Somebody said, well, why don't you go on food stamps? They were critical of me. I don't even know what food stamps are. I worked my entire life. I don't want a handout. Wow. I have people that are supporting me in this that I don't have to dip into my savings to, in order to hire attorneys. And I have these GoFundMe people that are just so heartfelt generous. I mean, it's just wonderful what these people are doing. I came into this thing alone. I remember back when I first, and I like to get this message across too. Okay. I have fear. I'm a human being. And I remember that I tossed this around. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I couldn't live with myself. I'm not belligerent by nature. And I thought, I can't do this. I just can't do it. When she said those 28 days, it dropped me on, literally, it dropped me to my knees. I couldn't believe it. I had a chill go through me, just a fear. What am I going to do for 28 days? I can't sustain my middle-class lifestyle for 28 days. you know, with no income coming in here, with my bills piling up, my credit rating in jeopardy.
And your politicians are still drawing a check.
Pardon me?
Your politicians, your governor's still drawing a check.
She's drawing a check. And I know darn well that if you took that check away from her, things would be different. Way different.
And all the people whose incomes that yeah, go ahead.
There is a serenity prayer. This God grant me the serenity to accept those things that I cannot change, the courage to change those things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I prayed that prayer all the way to my shop that morning that I came in here alone. And I got that courage to open. And now I'm taking the last part of that, the wisdom to know the difference. I closed my shop today. My attorney is working on this thing as fast and as hard as he can, and I'm going to continue. I'm not giving up. I'm in the trenches. This is like a sixth round of a 10-rounder.
And are you getting some help Monday, as I understand it? Because we spoke to Shelley Luther the other day, and she was on her way yesterday to Michigan, where, as I understand it, they're standing for you on Monday.
Well, the plan is that we're going to coordinate something with her. That's what my understanding is. I haven't spoken with her yet. You know, I've been so busy this morning with interviews that I really haven't had time to sort through and process all this. But we're going through this and processing this and trying to coordinate something with her.
Right. How can we help you and other business owners? What would you tell folks who want to stand with business owners to prevent this from continuing to happen across the country?
Voice, honestly, come out of your house. Don't live in fear of this. I remember back in the day back in the 50s, and the polio virus, was very similar to this. It was incurable, and it was striking children, and people weren't letting their kids out for fear that the heat would cause they thought the heat was the problem, and you get a stiff neck. And I remember my mother made us sit in the basement half the summer with a rag around our necks with ice cubes in it. Keep us. Well, this is the kind of fear that and it's being generated by the media. This fear, because it sells airtime. To keep that fear going, rather than saying how many have survived this coronavirus, they've chosen to say how many, those figures are even skewed now from what I understand.
They don't discuss the recovery rate.
How many have died? They're not talking about survivors. They want to talk about the death roll.
Right. KARL MANKE, God bless you. We're going to continue watching this story. And I know that you have books, and I know that you have a website out there. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, KARLMANKE.com, where people can go, and they can also read your books. A barber and an author. I mean, an all-around Renaissance man, and a folk hero, and a patriot as well. God bless you, KARL. It's a real pleasure. Yeah, there you go. We'll stay in touch, and we'll keep following this story. God bless you. Thank you.